Hi, welcome to Rivetea. Welcome back if you have been here before. I'm Longhair Linda, and today we are going to be recapping season 13, episode 1 of Real Housewives of New Jersey. I am so excited that New Jersey is back, so let's just get into it. Okay, so season 13 opens up with shots of Teresa's wedding from August last year. Now, it's kind of interwoven with some scenes from past seasons as well as scenes that will be coming up in this season. Everything that we're seeing right now is pre Teresa's wedding. So, this little opening cut is kind of interesting to see because we see that Margaret got an invite to the wedding. That's interesting. Frank is trying to get back with Dolores. Dolores has a new man and her relationship with Frank has changed. There are new castmates that look very fiery and are arguing with Jennifer, Merriam-Webster, aka Jackie, and Teresa. God, that's not going to go well. And the Gorga's entire family is still a bit of a mess. So yeah, and Jennifer says that one of the wives is cheating. So this little cut at the beginning already I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on right now. Tell me. So the first proper scenes of the episode show the OG cast at their homes with their families. Dolores' daughter keeps bringing home an array of pets despite not really even living there full time. And Dolores is happy but hates how smitten and gushy she is over her new man. Melissa and Joe are in the kitchen with their kids, who are as adorable as ever, by the way, and so grown. Antonia in this episode was talking about getting her first car in her upcoming 17th birthday. 17 already? What is going on? Melissa is planning an 80s roller skating party and has already referred to herself in the third person at 6 minutes and 25 seconds into the episode. Joe wants to know who's coming and Melissa says she's invited everybody. Well, it's the first cast event, so yeah. Back at Dolores's, Frank is complaining a little that Dolores is not as accessible as she used to be, but Dolores tells us in her confessional that that is because she is now in a relationship and she only wants to be that accessible to her man, Paulie. Do you know what? I think that's good for her. Frank has been spoilt for a very long time. You two are no longer married and she still does everything for you. So yeah, she should be less accessible to you, Frank. Over at Jennifer's home, she has had a slew of bad luck in her opinion, starting with Margaret messing with her life, then her Ferrari got stolen, so her mum said Jennifer had the evil eye, so they had to do a cushion. This is a traditional Turkish ritual that is supposed to repel negative energy. Jennifer tells her mum that the cushion didn't work because she broke her toe on vacation right after that. Her daughter suggests that this has nothing to do with energy and maybe she's just an airhead. And I hollered because I am here for the kids reading their parents down. It was very much giving Giselle and her twins in Potomac. I love it. I live for it. I'd love to see it. Jennifer does actually believe that this is an ultra jealous person that wants her to fail that has put an evil eye on her. So she says it must be coming from Dolores. Shady. Back at Dolores's, Frank wants to know when Dolores last saw Jennifer, and Dolores says in New York, as in the reunion, and she won't be speaking to her. We get a flashback to their argument at the reunion, right at the moment when Jennifer says Dolores jumped ship, with the whole feud thing with Margaret, and Dolores called Jen a word in response that made Andy pull this face. That I also won't be repeating on this channel because I would like to keep this platform. Also, I don't really like the word. When asked by a producer why she thinks Jen is calling her out for being a bad friend, Dolores says she has no idea because she stood by her more than anybody ever did. Now, if I remember correctly, Dolores did initially stand up for Jennifer when Margaret kind of revealed the whole Bill cheating thing. And it seemed though like she just kind of wanted Jen to toughen up. I remember there was a couple of scenes where she told her, stop crying, you got this, like be tough, be strong or whatever. And I think that she I think her personality type is very, very different to Jennifer's in that sense. Like, I feel like Jennifer was just really being vulnerable over something that had happened so long ago, but she hadn't dealt with. And I think she just felt really crushed and basically overwhelmed. That's what it looked like to me. And I think Dolores kind of telling her, you know, be quiet, it's okay, like, you know, be strong, don't cry, that can kind of come across as quite harsh. And then that's not even to mention when Dolores basically told Margaret that she was justified in doing that because Jen pushed her to it. No, she didn't. That is just my opinion, but no, she didn't. Okay? No. I don't know. I don't think that Jen not really being interested in Margaret's little tales of being a mistress, and judging her for it is the same as Bill cheating on Jennifer, because it's just two different things. Yes, it both involves cheating, but I think Jen's point was more so that Margaret seemed very proud to have gotten her husband from somebody else while cheating on her own husband at the time. So it's like Jen was just like, I don't like that you're proud of that, effectively. That's kind of what I got from those arguments. And so that then being justification for Margaret revealing that Bill had cheated on Jen 10 years ago or whatever is just like, I don't think that's the same thing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, Dolores wants nothing to do with Jen, and it looks like Jen isn't interested in mending fences either. Back at Melissa and Joe's, Melissa says that she invited Teresa to the 80s party because she doesn't want anybody feeling left out. And Joe says, well, you get left out, referencing Melissa not being asked to be a bridesmaid at Teresa and Louie's wedding. Whoo, I'm already sick of this family drama, and I just know this whole season's going to be full of it. Already tired. Episode 1. But we move. Joe says Teresa showed how she really feels about Joe and Melissa on her wedding day, and it turns out that Melissa had actually texted Teresa on the day of the reunion when she found out she wouldn't be part of the wedding, saying, I'm just letting you know I'm truly fine with not being in the wedding. Well, first things first, Melissa, that's not really true because you're still talking about it. I don't want to bring it up again within our family. Moving forward, I wish you guys all the best. I'm not going to get mad at you for what Jennifer does, and you shouldn't get mad at me for what Margaret does. Good night. Sleepy emoji. Now, the next thing I want to point out is that that sleepy face emoji is usually what I use. Sometimes I use it when I'm tired, but mostly I use it like shady, like you're boring me. And so I read it like that. And Melissa's kind of shady, so it could really be that. According to Melissa, Teresa didn't actually respond to that message, but then Teresa did send her a text 2 months later inviting Joe and Melissa to her 50th birthday celebration, which I think initially was supposed to be on an island. So Melissa responded with, Teresa, I texted you driving home from the reunion and you never answered back until now. So the edit and Melissa made it seem as if these were the only texts that had been exchanged between her and Melissa, between her and Teresa around that time. But according to @JoyRosenberg on Twitter, she has shared some, I'm assuming it's a she, let's just go with they. They've shared a screenshot of some messages that were apparently left out of the episode. Now, either they were left out by editors or by Melissa, who specifically made a point of saying that she hadn't heard from Teresa apart from to invite her to her birthday. Now, in these messages, Teresa does come across like really sweet, and it looks like Melissa gave the excuse of having a business dinner for missing Teresa's birthday. Okay. I mean, you were filming in your house at the same time. I'm assuming that's the same time. The editors certainly made it look that way. But okay. So now we're at Teresa's home, where Louie has set up some balloons and flowers for Teresa's birthday. Teresa can't believe that she's turning 50 and reminds us that she doesn't look 50. To be fair, she does look pretty good. She looks pretty great. Louie's family arrive as the blended family is getting ready to have a barbecue and some drinks to celebrate Teresa's birthday. Teresa tells us that Louie's mum is a therapist and that their family is very open about their feelings. Teresa is talking to Louie's sisters about their bridesmaid dresses being delivered, and that then cuts to Joe, who's talking about how left out and disappointed he feels back at his and Melissa's home. Back at the party, Teresa tells Louie that she is hurt, that Joe isn't coming to her birthday, and Louie calls him childish, selfish, weak, immature, and his insecurities are screaming. Damn, tell us how you really feel, Louie. Teresa, as usual, puts it down to it being Melissa's doing rather than her brother. But over at the Gorgas home, Melissa talks about expecting Teresa to be happier now that she has Louie, but instead, Teresa is nastier than ever. Back at the party, Teresa opens up a gift. I think it was a bracelet from all the kids. And she tells her girls that she never wants what is happening with her and Joe to happen between them. Teresa in her confessional says that Louie's family fills a void for her. I am really happy with their whole relationship. I think they look like they fit well together, at least from what we see on TV. I don't know these people. And their families look very, very cute. And I just think that I'm happy for Teresa, but I don't know. I was going to say I wish that she would kind of just try to make things right with her own family. But at the same time, her own family kept showing up on this show, her platform, her original platform, and having issues with her on TV and kind of making it for everyone to see. So I kind of see why she's not really trying to make up with everyone right now. But it's been so long. We're in season 13. It's been so long. We're in completely different stages of our lives as viewers, and certainly you guys as castmates. I wish they would move on from this. All right, now we're at Melissa's 80s roller skating party. The outfits are amazing. The Gorgas arrive first looking great and are followed by Margaret and Marge Sr., Frank Catania and his girlfriend Brittany, who, by the way, is 25 years younger than him. Dolores, Jackie and Evan, then Teresa and Louie. As Teresa and Louie arrive, Margaret is talking about not having seen Teresa since the reunion with Melissa and blah, 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 nobody cares. Teresa comes in and greets Joe, but says in her confessional that she wonders why Melissa even invited her because she didn't bother to come over and greet her. There is a running theme on this episode, and I think in many seasons of this show, greeting people as soon as they arrive is extremely important to these people. Extremely important to every cast member that has ever existed on Real Housewives of New Jersey. To some degree, I get it. It is rude if you turn up somewhere and you're not greeted. But it's like a bunch of people. Eventually, people will say hello to you, I guess. I don't know. It's just a little interesting for me. Margaret's friend, Jennifer Fessler, arrives, and Margaret is basically introducing her in this confessional. I think she is the first official friend of the show this season. Well, I guess Frank's girlfriend could be the first friend of the show. We just saw her like a couple of minutes before, so whatever. Margaret falls over just as she's saying she's having the time of her life on the roller rink and thinks that she has cracked her wrist. We do find out later that she legit has fractured her wrist. So, yeah. Teresa greets Margaret and says Louie and her therapist are helping her to be forgiving and less hot-tempered. We are introduced to Danielle, whose stepmom, not Danielle, what's her surname? Oh, that crazy lady, allegedly. Danielle Staub. Or Staub is how I'd pronounce it. But if you're watching this and you're American, you would have no idea who I'm talking about. So Danielle Staub, not her, whole new Danielle, complete new castmate for this season. So Danielle is introduced to us. So she knows Teresa because Danielle's stepmom was married to Caroline Manzo's brother. Now, from what I have seen of her, she seems like a fun time. A little fiery. She could be trouble, but she seems like a fun time. Anyway, her and Teresa are clearly friends, so we have the first member of Team Teresa. Jennifer and Bill arrive next, and the ladies talk about Danielle being from Staten Island and how she is extra and proud. She gives me good vibes. Yeah, I think she gives me good vibes. I really hope I'm not wrong. I like her already, and her husband and her kids, but we'll talk about that in a bit. As soon as Dolores joins the group, Jennifer walks away to get a drink. Jen later tells Melissa that she was disappointed by Dolores, and Dolores calls her a child in her confessional. Tracy and Tiki are back from last season, for some reason. We're then introduced to Rachel, who's the other new castmate this season. She is friends with Melissa. There goes Team Melissa. Okay, this should go well. Frank wants to know if Joe, Gorga, is going to talk to Teresa, and Dolores says that she's scared for them because Teresa and Joe don't have their parents around to help them fix their relationship. Now, they are also grown adults with children that are also almost adults, if not already. They could just talk this out, right? Frank throws in one last dig about Dolores and her new relationship before the group disperses, and we find out that Teresa is still having pineapple as the mixer for her alcoholic drinks. I guess we love a consistent queen. Jennifer Fessler pulls Teresa aside to try and smooth things over between her and Margaret because she is friends with Margaret, and suggests that they sit down and chat. Teresa's like, yep, you know what, I was just going to do that. And she walks over to Margaret and invites her to her house. Margaret says, to what? Bury me in the backyard? I used to love Margaret. And every now and again, I just get glimmers of her that, you know, from seasons ago. And I just remember how much I loved her and how much she has disappointed me as the seasons have passed. It's a shame. Teresa says no, it's just to have cheese and crackers. She can bring her husband Joe and it will be apparently very peaceful, much to Margaret's surprise. Now it turns out new castmate Rachel is also friends with Dolores and Frank's girlfriend Brittany. As she speaks to Teresa, Rachel tells her that her son and Melissa's son are best friends and is introduced to Danielle and Jen. Dolores walks over and just at that moment, Jen was being pulled away by Danielle. She wasn't actually walking away. It's that Danielle was like, oh, let's come over and do this. You know, when you like grab a friend by the arm. And then Dolores takes that as Jen is walking away from her for the second time on this party, or in this party. And Dolores tells her to stop walking away because she wants to invite all the husbands for a sexy calendar shoot at Margaret's house for her upcoming charity softball game. Jen asks if that's all she wanted to say to her, as in, is that all you want to say, Dolores? And Dolores is like, yeah. Jen walks away and says in her confessional that she'll ask Bill to be involved, but it's interesting that Dolores has nothing to say to her apart from asking them a favor. She has a point. Dolores, you've got this whole riff with her, and I get this whole, you know, it's all part of the cast and you want to get them involved, but at least being like, even if you didn't want to talk in that moment, I get it. It probably wasn't appropriate at all, and you probably weren't ready. But just to be like, hey, we need to have a sit down and have a conversation at another time because this is a party, but I would love for Bill to be involved in this calendar. That's it. That's all it takes. So we're taken to new castmate Danielle's home and we see her husband and children as she tells us in her confessional that she is the boss of her house. Her family is always put together, according to Danielle, and her son has like all of this gel in his hair. Her daughter always has big hair and a bow, and her husband is a walking Adonis. I mean, she has a point. He's all right looking. He's fine. I mean, Adonis is a lot, but if you like it, I love it. Now those kids, they're adorable and are set on roasting their parents. Danielle talked about how she met her husband when she really wasn't looking to date anyone. Why is that always the way? That is always, like, I don't think I've ever heard of an instance where like people found their life partner because they were actively looking for them. It's always like, oh, I wasn't even really thinking about dating, and then this person showed up in my life, and it's just like, it's such a common theme. Anyway, just by the by. So in terms of the family, they seem like a lovely little family. I think I'm going to like Danielle. I'm looking forward to seeing what she brings to this season. But let's move on. So much was going on this episode, by the way. It was a very long season premiere. And there's a lot of castmates. I'm trying to keep up here. I'm doing the best that I can. Margaret and Joe are getting ready to go to Teresa and Louie's and are expecting Teresa to apologise, while Teresa tells Louie that she's expecting Margaret to apologise. Of course. Typical. We get some insight, finally, 13 seasons into this show, about where Teresa's temperament comes from. Her dad apparently was very hot-tempered and would often throw things in anger. Now, I think we got flashes of this in past seasons when he was alive, rest in peace. When he was on the show, we did get kind of flashes of this little temperament that Teresa is talking about. But it's extremely interesting to hear that Teresa has the self-awareness to some degree to relate her behavior to not just being bad, but figuring out where it's coming from. Those therapy sessions seem to be working. Teresa is determined not to react, but tells us in her confessional that Margaret can trigger her very easily. As Margaret and Joe arrive, Margaret tells us that she is anxious in her confessional, as producers flash back to the scene last season when Teresa effectively flipped an entire table's contents on her. I use flip because that is Teresa's thing, and I will use no other word when Teresa attacks people with stuff that involves a table. The couple sit outside. Side note, Margaret referred to Teresa and her daughter as bitches. Bees? Oh, damn it. Oh, can I say damn? Yeah, it's fine. Oh, I swear too much to have a YouTube channel. Anyway, that joke was awkward. Teresa asks Margaret if she thinks she knows the real her, and Margaret says she thought she did, but she saw a whole new side of her last year. Teresa brings up weeks of hearing negative comments about Louie and how they are all coming from Margaret. Margaret says they were just concerned. They talk over each other a little, mostly Teresa, to the point where Louie jumps in to tell Teresa to let Margaret talk and get it out. She actually listened. Guys, she listened to him and she let Margaret speak. I feel like we have come such a long way. If you're an OG fan like me, we have come such a long way. Margaret calls Teresa a grudge holder, and Teresa says, not anymore, I'm working on myself. Margaret asks what about Melissa and Joe, and Teresa says that she fell out with them because of Margaret and them not sticking up for her and stopping Margaret. Now, how were they supposed to do that, Tree? How were they supposed to do that? Teresa talks about the time that she texted Melissa to tell her not to bring up Louie on the car strip last year, and how the first thing Melissa did was go and read the text out in front of everybody and the cameras, which is what I think she's most upset about, to be honest. Teresa says, that's my family, that's my sister-in-law, you don't do... I don't know what accent I'm doing. That's not how she says it. That's my family, that's my sister-in-law, you don't do that. That wasn't good. I'm so sorry if I offended. Louie adds that that's a sign of insecurity in a woman. Now, what does that mean? Did anybody understand what he was talking about there? I don't know how that makes her insecure. Now, I have other examples of things that lead me to believe that Melissa is insecure, but this isn't... I don't get it. Does anyone else get this? Let me know, because maybe I've missed something. Teresa says the text was like a test to see if Melissa would be loyal and show her that she loves her. And Margaret asks why she has to test people. Margaret begins to cry as Teresa talks about how their friendship began back when Margaret set up that beautiful memorial for Teresa's mum on the beach. Ugh. Remember when Margaret was sweet? Ugh. And she asked Teresa if she really wants to fix things or if she's just doing this for Louie. Teresa says she isn't. She's being as raw as a cucumber. Oh, I know this lady bugs a lot of you. I know many people that watch Real Housewives of New Jersey cannot stand Teresa. But when I tell you, I am guaranteed a laugh whenever she is on. Raw as a cucumber. Let's go. I'm using it. I'm using it from now on. Teresa and Margaret make a pact and agree to build a friendship and a trust. I really hope they can figure this out. I hope Margaret gets an attitude adjustment. I hope Teresa continues working on herself and has actual improvements like the ones we've been seeing, but they just continue. I want them to be all good because it got extremely nasty, and especially after a season like, with Potomac and some of the things that we've seen, in other franchises. I just don't want this to become dirty and, ruthless and no limits. I don't want that for them, and I hope that they can figure this out. At Margaret's, it's the day of the photo shoot. So Dolores arrives first, along with the photography crew, and Margaret is giving her husband Joe a hard time because the other men have apparently been working out and prepping for this shoot, while Joe has been eating mac and cheese all day. I'm not mad at it. Dolores says Frank is in the hospital with stomach and bowel issues, so he won't be able to make it. So Danielle and her husband Nate arrive first, followed by... Well, no, Dolores came first. You know what I mean. Followed by Rachel and her husband John and Jackie, aka Merriam-Webster, and Evan. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be mean to that lady. She's done nothing to me. And she's been fine recently, but... That is a great nickname. Jennifer really knocked it out the park with that one. The shoot starts with Joe on a motorbike, then Danielle's husband watering a bush. No, that is not a euphemism. Next up is Rachel's husband John holding an axe. Rachel is proud to say that he is a former model that has also been on Law and Order. Joe and Melissa Gorga arrive, followed by Teresa and Louie, just as Evan gets in the smallest briefs for his turn to have the photos taken. Now, it looks like that might have just been a bit of a joke, though, as he has on basketball shorts in his final picture. Joe Gorga and Teresa have the most awkward hello ever, and Joe makes it clear in his confessional that Teresa is breaking up the family by leaving his wife out of her wedding. Jen and Bill Aiden arrive, and Dolores ignores Jen but speaks to Bill about his role as a sexy doctor for the calendar. Jen tells Danielle that she and her husband showed up for Dolores, so Dolores should be the one to come over and say hello to her. Again, these hellos are extremely important. This is quite petty, but low-key, I get it for this one. I get it. Joe is a chef in the shoot with some hot dogs. This is Joe Gorga. Teresa thinks that a fluffer is some kind of kinky feather duster. So that's just so we know, that's what she thinks that is. And Louie has his photos taken as some kind of yoga Tai Chi guy? I don't know. I don't know. Margaret catches the Gorgas up on her sit down with Teresa and tells Melissa about Louie calling her insecure. Melissa goes off and says that she doesn't give an F anymore. Joe and Melissa won't be saying anything to Louie, apparently, though. Let's see how long this lasts. Dolores' boyfriend Paul arrives and is introduced to everybody, and the Gorgas say they've never seen her this mushy. Paul describes her as a romantic but quick to cut your balls off. Energy. Bill has his shoot next as a doctor with a rose, followed by Paul as a very Irish bartender. Thanks to @OMFG Reality TV on Twitter, we got to see the second Joe Gorga image for the calendar, as well as the December image of all the husbands. Thanks, OMFG Reality TV. Danielle is trying to get Jen to say something to Dolores, but Jen is standing firm that she has taken the first step by even coming to the shoot. Jen goes on to say to Jennifer Fessler and Danielle that she kissed Dolores' butt during their friendship, and she could have said when Dolores was with David that if a man is with you for 5 years and he still don't know, it's a no. But she never said that. She's fine saying it now, though. All right, Jennifer, this is... Ooh, Jennifer causes some issues. I love her, though. She is fun to watch, but man, when she gets going, it's a problem. Rachel has joined in at this point, and Jen fills them in on the issue with Margaret. Rachel, for some reason, says that Margaret has a point that Jen was being hypocritical about Margaret being a cheater when her husband was also a cheater. Have I missed something? Because this is not the same to me. I don't understand how that's hypocritical. It's not like Jen was saying... I almost called her John then. It's not like Jen was saying that Margaret cheating was bad, but Bill cheating was good. I don't understand where the hypocrisy comes in. She was still hurt by Bill cheating. She still didn't like that he did it. I think the issue that she has with Margaret is the whole boasting of it all, right? So I don't know how that's hypocritical, and I don't think those two things are the same. And I feel like I'm on my own here because I don't everyone keeps saying that and I don't get it. I don't know if I'm just missing something. Jen shuts it down and tears up when the ladies advise her to be vulnerable, saying that she was vulnerable last year and it got her nowhere. As the ladies head back to get food, Rachel inserts herself again. Starting to see a theme here, Rachel. It's only episode 1. Calm down. I know you're trying to earn your check, but please. Rachel tells Dolores that Jen was upset and feels like Dolores doesn't care. So, of course, Dolores goes off about Jen talking to everyone at the party except for her. On the other side of the room, Melissa is pushing the issue with Jen, and Jen says that even Margaret was remorseful last year, but Dolores is not receptive to her feelings. Dolores overhears and goes to grab Jen for a chat. So, of course, it was all sunshine and rainbows after that, right? No? As they walk away, Rachel is catching Melissa up on what's going on, and Merriam-Webster interrupts her to tell Rachel that she hasn't looked at her once in this conversation and says, I just think it's nice social skills. Jackie! Melissa asked the girl a question and she answered her. When did you even show up? I didn't even see you. Like, when did you just popped up out of nowhere and are now trying to teach social skills to another woman? Okay. All right. Rachel apologizes and says, it's a lot of moving parts here and she's just trying to keep up. Welcome to Real Housewives of New Jersey. Dolores tells Jen that she walked away from her at the roller skating party twice, but Jen pushes back and says that Dolores wasn't even making eye contact with her and it didn't seem like she really wanted to talk to her. She brings up the name Dolores called her at the reunion, the last time they saw each other, and Jen says that she was just trying to talk to Dolores, her friend, about how she felt. Dolores says Jen had been going around telling everybody that Dolores wasn't a good friend to her, and Jen confirms that that's just how she feels. They start arguing about the same thing again, so we got Dolores sided with everyone but Jen, and Jen called Dolores a bad friend, and yada. You get the picture. In the end, Dolores says, look, we just don't agree on what a friend is. And Jen says, yep, I'm nice, you're not, we're good. They walk away in the same direction, but they're arguing about not being friends, and Jen ends up yelling, learn how to talk, Merriam-Webster, to Dolores. Now, Jen, that name is Jackie's. I'm all here for the planet, but we do not recycle this. Jen is screaming profanities as Bill is leading her out of the house and says that she learned them from Dolores. Dolores replies that Jen should learn more from her, and Jen says, yeah, she should, how to be a B and an effed up friend. As she gets in the car, Jen says, F her, she looks like an old handbag. The thing is that she doesn't, but Jen is hilarious when she's mad. The little one-liners that she comes up with, except for the recycling of Merriam-Webster, are hilarious. They are gold dust. Big fan. Anyway, that was the end of the very long season premiere. We were truly treated. So, ratings. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. What an opener this was. In fact, I was going to give it a 10, but I only knocked off a point because of how chaotic the scenes felt at times. I don't know if that's because there's too many castmates. I don't know what's going on, but it just felt like a lot. It felt like a lot happening at once. I don't know if it was to do with the edit, because usually I enjoy the New Jersey edit, so I don't quite know what it was, but it just felt really chaotic at times. So I've knocked off a point, but still, 9 out of 10 is still great. They did a fantastic job. The flash forward at the start was brilliant, and it was really a good indication of what we can expect from this season. The 80s party was eventful. I mean, the outfits were great. The confrontations were minimal, and there were some very funny scenes too. So all in all, very enjoyable. We were introduced to new castmates Rachel and Danielle. I think they're a little spicy. Right now, I think I prefer Danielle over Rachel, to be honest. I want to know what you guys think though. Rachel seems fine, and no hate. Rachel seems fine. And Teresa and Margaret will hopefully be moving forward and getting to a better place after their sit down. Have we got a Teresa 2.0? Do we have a new Teresa? I'm excited to see where this is going. The Gorga family feud is never ending. It's reignited and it looks like it's only going to get worse this season. And of course, we ended the episode with Dolores versus Jennifer. I want to know what your ratings were, so I gave it a 9. What do you say out of 10? What did you think of the opener? What do you think about the teams? Are you team Teresa? Are you team Melissa? Are you team Dolores? Are you team Jennifer? What is going on? Let me know on socials or in the comments or both. Let's have a chat. I'm curious. But that's it for today and I will see you for the next one. Bye.